Hey there. So last week we were looking at how to alleviate or relieve it if you've got a tight lower back. This week we're looking at more of how we can prevent it occurring in the first place. You'll need one bit of kit for today's session, a broomstick or something like that, a mop or something. If you haven't got something, you can just leave out that exercise. But if you have, it's a good one to try. So just something, some sort of pole that you can put some force into. Don't need that yet though. So we're going to start off with our lower back prevention by addressing our hips. When we have tight hips, it often follows through that we have a tight lower back. So we want to be loosening up our hips. Often just the regular loosening up of our hips can be enough to help to relieve our lower back. So first one to start off with, nice gentle one, lying on our backs. I've got my left leg on the floor, I've got my right knee pulled in towards me, and I'm just going to pull that right knee in towards me. Now, as I do that, it'll depend where you are tightest, where you feel it. You might be feeling it through your inner thigh. I want you to try and keep the left leg straight. So rather than the pelvis coming with me and tucking under, I'm trying to keep the left leg straight. So if I think about the toe or the heel, whatever, of my foot pointing down away from me as I bring the knee in towards me. And then I'm going to bring the leg slightly across the body. So now I'm getting a gentle stretch into my glute on the outside. And then taking it away from the body. So I've passed it to my other hand, taking it away. And I might want to put my left hand onto my left hip just to stop my left hip from rolling as I take the right knee out to the right side. So I'm just loosening up through the hip, and now I'm just going to do little circles with that knee. So bringing the knee in towards me, out to the side and away, whichever way round you want to do your circle. And then swap direction. So just circling that knee around, loosening up through that hip joint. If you've got any kind of crunching in the hip joint, if it's feeling pinchy, just massively reduce that range of motion and then see if you can build it. Often it's just that we need to lubricate the joint a little bit. So once we start moving, we get that fluid in the joint flowing and you might be able to get into it, but it shouldn't feel clicky or crunchy or uncomfortable. Swap onto the other side. So now I've got my right foot down to the ground, right foot pointing away from me, bringing my left knee in towards me. And again, just work to your range of motion. Don't force it. You might not have the knee as close into you. You might have it way closer. That's going to just depend on that mobility through the hips there and how that hip joint feels. I'm going to take my left knee into my right hand, bringing it across the body, getting a gentle stretch into my left glute. Left knee into my left hand, taking it away from my body. If it helps you to put your right hand onto your right hip, just keep that hip grounded. Don't let your body roll to the left. And then knee in towards you, into those circles, whichever way you want. And then change direction. Loosening up through the hips. So yeah, when we have lower back pain, often it comes from lack of mobility at the hip. It can also be tight thighs, our quad muscles, the front of the thighs. I'm not going to go through that today because we've done that in previous sessions, but always give those thighs a good stretch. Often the hips are tight because we're tight through the thigh as well. Our hip muscle runs through the thigh. So do give the thighs a quick stretch. Check there's nothing too tight going on there that's pulling you out of alignment. From there, we're going to come up to kneeling. Last week we did your cat-cow, which is a reminder, is in kneeling like that, but slow down. We're going to try a slight variation from it this week. I just want to give you different options so you can find the best one from you. If you need something underneath your knee, please do stick a cushion under there. We're going to do a kneeling cat-cow. So we're going to bring our hips back behind us, hands forwards, and arching through, rounding through that back, getting a lovely stretch through the back. And then hips forwards, tucking under. So now I'm arching my body the other way in the same way that we did in our kneeling, 4-point kneeling cat-cow. So you're just going to do a few of those, round forwards, getting a nice stretch through the upper shoulders there as well. And back. and forwards and back. This is the cat-cow is more of a kind of reliever, but because we're getting the hip mobility at the same time, so tuck under as we come backwards, we're also loosening up the hip, so it can be a part of a prevention as well. Swap sides. So round forwards, tuck under, tip the water out the back as we come backwards. So you need to choose for yourself. Does this feel like you're killing two birds with one stone? You're kind of getting the movement and you're getting the hip mobility, or are you doing both half as well and you're better doing hip mobility, normal kneeling hip mobility that you've done with me loads before, and doing your cat-cow separately? You choose. Last one. Lovely. Into our plank and then step, so straight arm plank, step your right foot up towards your right hand. If you can't quite get it there, use your hand to help it into place. We're trying to get the heel down to the ground. If we're not here yet, then this is something that we really want to work on, being able to get this foot forward. So if it's further back here, that's fine, but over time, looking to get it down by our hand, working through that hip mobility. And in this position, I'm pushing my right knee forwards, I'm pushing my left heel back. So I'm really stretching through the groin, through the hips, loosening up. I can turn to look over my right shoulder if I've got my left foot at the back there. Turn to look over my left shoulder, tuck the tailbone under, and now I'm really loosening up the front of the left hip. So still pushing my right knee forwards, left heel back, tucking under, looking over my right shoulder. Step back to your plank, swap sides, so left foot forwards. You need to have a bit of help getting into position, that's fine. Pushing my left knee forwards, right heel back. A few breaths here, using my breath to help me. Turning to look over my left shoulder as I tuck my glutes under, feeling that stretch at the front of the right hip. Lovely. So that's a nice hip mobility sequence, loosening up those hips. That might be your kind of root cause. That might be just what you need to keep doing regularly to keep that lower back at bay, lower back pain at bay. Let's try a few other things though. So grab your stick, lying on your back, you're going to put your stick between the two legs. Now I've got it behind my left leg, on front of my right leg. Doesn't matter which way around you do it, but if you want to listen to me saying left and right, do it the same as me. So the stick is between the two legs, behind the left leg, in front of the right leg. And then I'm holding on to it. I'm going to try and push the two legs into the stick as hard as I can. Obviously, if I just did that, the bar goes straight. So that's why I've got my hands on the stick to stop it. So my left leg is pushing into the stick, my right leg is coming into me, into the stick, and my arms are keeping the bar straight. I'm going to hold that for 5, as hard as I can. 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. I'm going for 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Final time, I'm going for 3, 2, 1. Relax. Now you feel your core working a bit, just because of the action you're doing. Probably getting a bit of almost a sort of massage into the front of the leg there. That's fine. But the main thing, I'll explain what we're doing, but let's go on to the other side. So bar between our legs and now moving it the other way. So it's pushing into the front of my left leg. My right, it's behind my right leg and my hands are holding it in position. I'm going to do the same. So I'm pushing both of those legs together into the bar and my arms are holding in position. So we're going for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, relax. What we're doing here is trying to even up our pelvis. If we've got a slightly wonky pelvis, different forces acting on it, it can just get a bit misaligned. So going for 4 this time. 4, 3, 2, 1. You might feel something going as you do it. You might not feel something, but hopefully you feel better afterwards. Final time for 3. 3, 2, 1. Lovely. So hopefully that is feeling loosen things up. If that wasn't your root cause, won't have any difference. Hopefully it hasn't done any harm unless you've broken them off in the process. And then from there, we're going to go into our thoracic extension and rotation. So let's put our left leg out straight and our right knee bent, foot on the floor. And you're going to use your right knee for leverage. So I'm going to put my left hand onto my right knee, my right hand's behind me, and I'm going to turn. My chest is trying to face as far to you guys as I can. I can look over my shoulder, but it's not really about what my head does, it's about where my chest goes. So my legs are going to be facing forwards, which means my hips are facing forwards. So I'm working on my mid-back, my thoracic spine rotation, trying to turn to this side. Let's use our breath. So we breathe in, we lengthen up towards the ceiling, we breathe out, we try and turn further to behind us. We're not forcing it, we're just working with our body. You could also have your elbow on the outside there to push through, whichever feels better to you. Keep the legs where they are. We're going to turn and face the other way. And this time, yeah, you can have your hands on your knee, you can have your elbow there, whatever works best. You're just using that knee for leverage. Turn and face the other way. Lovely. Swap legs over. So using your left knee for leverage now, right hand to the left knee and turn, same as what we've just been doing. A little bit easier now to use that leg to brace against. 5 breaths in and out. Lengthen up as we breathe in, turn as we breathe out. Remember, it's not really about what my head can see, it's where my chest is getting to. Lovely, and then using that to go the other way. Lovely, and then finally, sorry, should have said at the beginning, Kit, you also need a foam roller. So we're going to use your foam roller to do your thoracic extension. So often when we've got pain in our lower back, it's because we're tight in our mid-back. We haven't got enough range of motion in our mid-back. Our body tries to find it in our lower back. Our lower back isn't meant to move much. We're meant to have lots of mobility in our mid-back, not much mobility in our lower back. But if we're too tight in the mid-back and we're not getting that motion, our body has to find it somewhere else. Or just the fascia, the kind of threads that run through our whole body are getting tight because they're getting pulled in one area, so they're not gliding freely where they should be. So we've done that mobility, turning side to side to make sure we're loosening up the mid-back, but now we need to make sure we've got the movement, extension, forward and backwards through the mid-back. So we're going to lie against the foam roller. With this one, if any of this doesn't feel right, please don't force it. Do what feels right to you, work to your range of motion. So we're going to do like a little sit-up. I never do sit-ups, but like a little sit-up with the roller at the base of the back, and we're engaging our core. That sit-up is to make sure that we think about engaging our core. Then cross your hands over onto your chest and bend gently backwards over the roller, letting your head drop down towards the floor, keeping the core engaged. So we don't want to just relax through the core, get way lower there. I want to keep my core engaged and make sure it's the back that is doing the bending. Few breaths. Come back up. Scooch the bum a little bit further down the roller. So now the roller's a little bit further up the back, kind of mid back. Engage again, core engage. Come backwards over the roller and trying to get our back to just mobilize where the roller is. I'm not using it as a roller. I'm not rolling backwards and forwards on it. I'm using it as something to bend backwards over. Come back up, and then final time, engage through the core again. Going backwards, you might want to add in your hands for gravity here if that feels right. Don't if it doesn't. Trying to come backwards over the roller. Lovely. So we've looked at a few different things there. We've looked at your hip mobility. We've looked at your thoracic mobility, so the side to side movement and the being able to go backwards. And we've looked at just trying to realign the pelvis with the one with the broomstick between your legs. So hopefully that has helped. It may not be an instantaneous help, but hopefully over time, if you're doing those things regularly, that's going to start to loosen things up. The other thing is, if your lower back is sore, obviously, if it's properly acutely sore, then you might want to go and see a doctor, make sure if there's something else going on there. But if it's just that it's feeling really tight and everything, you can take ibuprofen or something. I'm not a fan of taking pills normally, but you just want to get that body out of that spasm, help it to relax, release, but also movement. Just gentle walking, movement is always, almost always going to help. But as I say, I'm not diagnosing you. I can't see what's wrong with you, so you need to get specific advice. But if it's just generally tight, movement is almost always going to be best for it. And core, so core strengthening, doing your anti-extension work, particularly, we won't do it now, but things like your dead bugs, your planks, the anti-extension work that means our pelvis is stable, so we don't end up using our lower back when we're trying to use our core or our glutes. Okay, good work. I hope that helps.